What is up, everyone? It's Mullah, pleased to do a video on Paradise Palms at the request of L1612. So let's get started. To begin with, something to know is that you generally want to be aiming your drop for the top of hotel here, since by doing so you can control most of the surrounding area. If you're in duos, you can send the other player towards this black top building. This is important because say that you guys are contested, it's likely that the other teams will be taking the houses. So by sending one person to this blacktop, they can then loot in this direction, take the loot in the middle of the plaza, and then come back to these houses or shops or whatever pretty quickly before these guys can really close in on him. Either way though, the player in a hotel can very easily cover for him since he has pretty much a view on the entire Paradise Palms. Conversely, let's say there's 3 teams, I would recommend sending one person to the pool and one person to the hotel. And then if you guys don't get hotel, then I would recommend sending... There's 2 main splits you could do. You could do one person here and then one person here. This is really good because you get pretty much the strongest houses in the area, and you can also of course get pretty quick mats individually, and it's relatively safe. If you guys notice that there's a player contesting, we'll say like this is just an example, but if there's one player here, then it would make sense to send one of your duos here and one duo here so that you can pretty quickly set up the pinch. Obviously, it's unlikely that a person will land at the small one, but the same theory applies, like with this corner one, for example. Conversely, another split you could do is sending one here and then one to this blacktop. This keeps both players relatively close together, and then these 2 blacktops only share about 2 together, so I wouldn't prioritize them over farming another house after the loot path being this main one, the middle, and then probably this house, presuming that the other duo goes from this house to this house, allowing each of them to meet up and pretty much assess the situation from there, since it takes the team who lands hotel a decent amount of time to go through all the floors, since whenever they land, the purpose of landing hotel is to get information as well as try to get tags. So generally, this player will spend more time shooting up at the top, or looking around at least. If you're solo or you hear someone landing in your building, then you want to pretty quickly get whatever guns you can pick up from the top, and then try to land on this 3rd window by getting like 10 mats from pickaxing the floor, and then putting a cone when you're falling to catch yourself. You'll see 7SSK7 do this. The reason you want to land on this 3rd window is because there's a chest spawn here and then one underneath. Conversely, there's none on the 2nd floor, so by doing so, you can pretty much assume where a player would want to land if they know the area, and if they don't, then they're pretty boned if they just land here. One thing to understand about Paradise is that build fights break out pretty frequently because of the presence of the shrubs and how good they are for getting wood, and the fact that they're pretty much everywhere. So I would say if you're not pretty confident in build fighting, then you might not want to land here. Same with AR aim, since landing at hotel is much better if you can land your shots on people gliding in or people rotating in the street. Otherwise, you're not really putting up pressure from hotel. So, alright, now let's get into the pros and cons. So, obviously, you can get max mats here pretty efficiently, since there's cars for metal, and then these shrubs and trees for wood. And when you're hitting these trees, they're going to drop coconuts, which give 5, I think they work like a slurp juice, like 5 health or shield. And then there's also 4 vending machines, so that in and of itself gives you a really high probability for getting mobility, because I don't know, I feel like I can get them more often from vending machines than from chests and such. Of course, there's also pretty much a permanent rotation with this sky platform, you'll probably get there a little bit after the teams who come here because they don't have as much to farm. They're just going to max out their brick and metal, but their overall looting shouldn't be longer than yours. Also, there's the rift spawns here, which, I mean, who knows how long they'll be here for, you know? As for the cons, so when I mentioned build fighting, there's also like surrounding. Alright, as for the cons, there's a high chance of third parties just because the surrounding POIs, or not POIs, but like this mini chunk and then the John Wick house, both are relatively contested. So if you guys have a really drawn out build fight here, then it's very likely that these players will just come after and try to clean you guys up or whatever. So just be mindful of that when you're taking your fights. So either do them quickly and like early, or just back out in my opinion. Also, there's only one quad spawn in this house, or in this shop. By sending one player here, you can check it quickly, or in the beginning of the game, so you know if you have that option for mobility. But you don't need to sweat it too hard because even if it is a very far zen, you can pretty much chain mobility streams to get to the destination. There's also not many natural campfires. There's one here, and then I believe there's one over here. So you're probably only going to be able to hit one, like at best, unless you get zone, I guess. But either way, that's a lot of walking just to hit campfires, you know. Also, the surrounding loot of this area isn't too reliable. Not that like Paradise really needs surrounding loot because it's a pretty good POI, but you know, just like let's say it's a hot drop game and like a bunch of teams land there and you end up leaving without shields, then it's not reliable that you're going to be able to farm other areas since the bridge is sometimes contested by teams, and then sky platform's not too great for a duo, I guess, you know. And then lastly, its edge of map. That's not the biggest concern with Paradise because of the amount of mobility options they have. Like I've mentioned, the Rift, Sky Platform, Quad, yada yada. But still, edge of map, you have to be considerate of how far away the storm is, more so than teams landing like tilted or divot. Alright, well, that's pretty much it for what I have on Paradise Palms. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like, subscribe. Thanks.